Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our presentation on protein complementarity. We've been talking a lot about the problem of food shortages. One of the reasons for this is climate change, because we're seeing drier weather. Before we go any further, let's take a straw poll. Who would consider eating insects as a viable solution to the food crisis? Raise your hands, please. Don't be shy. Thank you. How about cellular meat? A few more people. However, we don't think that either of these solutions is very helpful in the short term. Insects because, well, yuck. And cellular meat because, as my friend is going to tell you shortly, it's just too expensive and wasteful of the most precious resource, water. So we're going to introduce Diet for a Small Planet, protein complementarity. First of all, Margot is going to tell you about some of the science. Then Popeye is going to talk about some of the obstacles. And finally, Olive Oil is going to explain why we think protein complementarity is a better solution than lab-grown meat. So over to you now, Popeye. Let's look at protein complementarity. Did you know that there are a lot of different kinds of protein which humans need in order for our bodies to function correctly? How many do you think? That's right, there are actually 9 kinds of protein which we need for our bodies to function correctly. And meat is a great source because it contains all those proteins, sometimes called amino acids, in one place. Now, vegetables also have protein, but you can see the vegetables here are looking a bit sad because one vegetable on its own doesn't always have all the different kinds of protein. That's where protein complementarity comes in. Protein complementarity means mixing different kinds of vegetables so that you can get different kinds of protein. Here's a cow eating lots of grass, and so that's just to say cows are not completely sustainable. Let's go back to Diet for a Small Planet. Here you can see the originator of protein complementarity, Francis Moore Lappe, who happens to have the same hairstyle as Ellen and quite similar glasses as well. Here's her idea. There are 9 kinds of amino acid which our bodies need in order to make a complete protein. And you can see that we can get it from beans, we get methionine. And so if you add beans and grains, nuts and seeds have lysine and threonine. So if you mix together beans with seeds, for example, then you've got a more complete protein. That is the theory. If you mix nuts and seeds with legumes, what are legumes? I think they're the kind of green vegetables. Then you have a more complete protein. If you mix vegetables like carrots and potatoes with grains, nuts and seeds, then you have a better protein source. With a lot of them, mixing them with cheese, with dairy protein, is also a good way. And so the book which explains this, or some of the science, you can read online. Here are the different kinds of proteins, and many of those combinations were quite traditional. For example, bread and peanut butter. It's actually a whole protein chain. So now I think Margot is going to talk about some of the problems with this theory. Here we've got the combinations outlined, but of course one of the problems with this theory is that it doesn't work if you really love meat. So hands up, all you meat lovers. Are you looking forward to your steak or your chicken nanban as your birthday treat? Well, we're not saying that you have to give up your favourite meat. We're just saying try to reduce the amount of meat, and when you eat without meat, try to combine the different proteins. Let's now, so that was very quick. Sorry, I could have told you some recipes and told you a bit more, but we're going to now do some comparison of protein complementarity and cellular agriculture. So I'm going to pass it over to olive oil. Olive oil, can you tell me about the comparison between cellular agriculture and protein complementarity? Yeah, sure. So on the one hand, cellular agriculture uses the land to make a laboratory. If we do protein complementarity, we're using our land for growing plants. Cellular agriculture requires a radical change in the way that we do farming, whereas protein complementarity requires investing in farming of vegetables and maybe some dairy, some eggs as well. And so it's continuing traditional farming, but just reducing the amount of meat farming. Cellular agriculture has a big disadvantage because it requires further research, whereas traditional farming has been going on for years. We could continue to research the proteins which are in vegetables. That's quite a good idea. Some people might say, let's look at the cost. The cost of 1 kilogram of cellular meat is now between 2,300 and 9,200 yen, compared to soybeans, 400 yen to 1,200 yen. So clearly, vegetables are going to be better for your purse. Let's look at water now, because the shortage of water is quite noticeable. In my home prefecture, Cambridge, they're on 5% of the normal rainfall this year, something like that. It's a large amount of water is less. It's a big loss compared to previous years. So what's the water footprint? The amount of water used for cellular meat is a huge 3,000 to 400 litres per serving. Now, the water footprint for some kinds of vegetables, especially nuts, is also high. You can see that almonds have a water footprint of 1,828 litres per serving, and that's actually higher than beef. So maybe we can only use a little bit in terms of nuts, but if we look at potatoes, 34 litres per serving. That's way superior. And pizza, which is combining wheat, cheese and tomatoes, 201 litres per serving. So on the water footprint, doing protein complementarity is a lot better than cellular agriculture. And it's also better than meat eating. So that's good news for you if you like pizza and pasta. So for natural farmed meat, 681 litres per serving of pork. Makes you think, doesn't it? So now we're just about ready to wrap up. The problem of the world food shortage, let's bring back another character here. The problem of the world food shortage is not a problem of supply. It is a problem of distribution and choices about how to use the land. By decreasing the proportion of meat in our diet, we can increase the sustainability of our farming. Combining beans and rice or veggies and seeds and beans, or potatoes and cheese, it's very similar to, for example, your onigiri with sesame seeds. Why not onigiri with peanuts? And so doing this kind of combination can help us to get enough protein. Thank you for listening. I'm going to just show you our references on the next slide. And as Ellen, I have a recommendation for you, which is to look at the water protein and its water footprint calculator. It's very interesting to have a look at. Thank you for listening. One more interesting website about farming in the US, and See you next time.